Good evening. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm Beth Kerttula, and I'm the House Democratic Leader. It's my great honor to be here with you this evening. We've just listened to the Governor's State of the State, and it's my duty and my honor to get to present the House Democratic Caucus's view of not only where we are today in Alaska, but our view of the future. I was lucky. I was raised in Alaska. Tonight, the Governor mentioned an image that's been with me for weeks, and that is of the Coast Guard cutter and the Russian tanker going up the coastline of Alaska together to go to Nome to deliver their precious cargo, the fuel that will get Alaskans through the winter. My grandfather first came to Alaska almost 100 years ago, and he too was caught in the ice in Nome. And the friends that he made there during that tough winter, those courageous people who got him through, some of the family of those friends are still family friends of my family today. People like Richard Foster, who was in the legislature and who is now passed, and his son Neil. These are courageous Alaskans who live in Nome, but who also live in Cordova and Valdez and throughout Alaska. Alaskans today have that same courageous spirit. You know, we don't just live through hardship in Alaska. We conquer it, just as those around the state are doing today. You've elected us to lead. We've got to use today's resources, the minerals, the oil, the gas, to lead us into tomorrow and to build tomorrow's opportunities. I want to talk about three specific things today that our caucus is focused on: jobs, education, and getting our fair share of Alaska's resources. So let's talk about jobs. We all know that despite the national economy, Alaska is doing pretty well. We have oil and gas jobs today. In fact, we have more jobs today in oil and gas than at any other time besides when TAPS was completed. The North Slope and Cook Inlet have an exploration boom, and new areas are opening up for development. We must get a fair return on these resources because that fair return keeps Alaska the wealthiest state. Getting the resources out of the ground is only half of what it takes to be a resource state. We've got to create opportunities from our resources because these opportunities are what will define our success. To turn today's resources into tomorrow's jobs, we have to do certain things. First, we have to save. And I want to give credit to Representative Mike Dugan for having a bill that would put $10 billion into the permanent fund. We've got to save some of our surplus in the permanent fund. That's what that fund does. It turns a resource that's not renewable into future resources for future generations of Alaskans. We've got to invest wisely in 21st century infrastructure. Representative David Guttenberg of Fairbanks has been a leader in seeing that communities across our state get broadband internet so that all of our students, all Alaskans, can have access to this wonderful 21st century technology. We also must lead in renewable energy. We know that oil provides most of our budget, but it will not be there forever, and we must turn toward renewable energies, towards the hydropower, towards the wind, towards the tidal power that we are so plentiful in. Now is the time to move Alaska forward in these areas. You know, tonight I was listening, and while I may agree with the Governor on many things, I've got to tell you that the Democratic caucus in the House places education way higher on the list. The best way to open doors for Alaskans and to assure them good jobs is education. Alaska is one of the few places left where you can actually still live the American dream. And unfortunately, at number 6, I don't think that's high enough. The Governor had education as number 6. That has to be moved up. Education and job training are the keys to opportunity, and I am really proud of my caucus and of the exciting ideas, the really good common sense ideas that we have for educating Alaskans. The first one, Representative Chris Tuck has a bill that would get parents involved in their children's education early so that they can get ahead and stay ahead. We call it parents as teachers. You know, my mother says that we don't teach the most important things. We don't teach people how to be parents. This bill, his vision, is to teach parents how children's brains develop, how they can help their children. And it's such a great idea. It's something that we must bring into Alaska, into every household, so that we can all bring our children ahead, give them that best start that they can have. Representative Pete Peterson, I got to tell you something. Today in my hometown, here in Juneau, we got notice that 66 teachers are going to be cut out of our budget for next year. That's 66 people that are not going to help our children make the best of their education. And to tell you the truth, I have no idea where we're going to make those cuts. How are we going to do with less teachers? Does it mean our children are less valuable? We are the wealthiest state in the nation. It is not right to be seeing these cuts to education. But it's not just here in Juneau. It's going to be Anchorage. It's going to be Fairbanks. And Representative Pete Peterson has the absolute start to this. Pete would say that we should not allow our children to bear the burden of inflation by cutting the classroom. We have got to at least meet inflation to our education funding. Finally, Representative Les Guerra, joined by many of us, has sponsored a bill to make college and job training more affordable by lowering the cost of our student loans. And that just makes good sense. If students come back to Alaska, we will lower their loans so that we get our Alaskans back. We know the brain drain our state is going through. I talk to parents all the time who say, you know, I want my son, I want my daughter to come home, but you know, they just can't afford it and they can't find a job. That's what we and our duty is to lead on, is to be sure we have the strong jobs and the strong backing for education for Alaskans. There really isn't any better investment than investing in Alaskans. With our state's economy as strong as it is, we should give every Alaskan who wants to learn the best opportunity to do so. The key to that success, it's getting our fair share of our mineral wealth. We've all heard the debate about the governor's decision and his proposal that would give away billions of dollars in Alaska's oil wealth. Outside interests have had a long history of exploiting Alaska's resources. Our state was founded to make sure Alaskans did get their fair share. And if you go back and read the debates, you can read some of the wonderful thinking that went behind our Constitution that made it our mineral wealth, not private wealth, so that we could flourish, so that we could build our state. Courage and leadership is what it took to stand up in those days, and that is what we must continue. Democrats will continue to stand up against any attempt to give away our resources. And you know, Alaskans are already investing hundreds of millions of dollars every year in the oil industry in tax credits. $3 billion in the last 4 years. That's money you and I put into the investment in the oil industry in this state. Through these credits, actually, we are the biggest investor on the North Slope, and we need to understand what the companies are doing with our investment. You know, when she first started talking about it, I just was kind of amazed. It's something we don't already do. But Representative Berta Gardner has a wonderful piece of legislation, and what it would do is say, show me. We Alaskans deserve to know where that money goes. Show us what you're doing for the credits, because that will allow us to make better decisions. Her bill would do 3 things. It would say what a company is doing to earn its oil tax credit. It would tell us how many jobs the company is creating. Maybe this is something we're all beginning to really want to know. Tell us how many Alaskans get those jobs. We should know what we're buying for the billions of dollars we're already investing. We should understand where our money is going. In conclusion, I want to say that Alaska is in a great position to use today's resources to build tomorrow's opportunity. My caucus and I stand ready to work with Alaskans across the aisle and across the state to build a better state, to create good jobs, to create a strong education system, and a healthy economy for all Alaskans. Before I close, I also want to say thank you to the 34,000 Alaskans that signed the petition to put on the ballot the initiative to bring coastal zone management back to our state. If there's one thing we can do to reclaim the control of our coastline and our destiny, it's to enact our program again. It's not right to have Alaska be the only coastal state in the Union without a coastal zone program. So, you braved the wind, you braved the weather. At the very last minute, Cordova's petition booklet came out of Cordova and was counted. So for all of you who signed those petitions in record time, 27 days, an all-time record, thank you for helping us make history. Thank you from the Democratic Caucus. Thank you for listening tonight. Thank you for being here in Alaska. And thank you for listening in again. Good night.